This Thursday morning edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports. Brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire store. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing, they have it all. And right now they have an ongoing sale up to 50% off dozens and dozens and dozens of cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. Do the math. 20 becomes 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60. Great deals at firstroundcollectibles.com. Use our promo code Sports Addict for 10% off regular priced and sales priced items. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never ever.
And welcome to Pucks Across Borders on a Thursday morning on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Lots to get into from the two games on the ice last night, two more games on the ice tonight, plus some breaking news that broke just 20 minutes ago. We're going to get into all of it. No more series to start. There's no more series to preview. It's all going. Every series is off and running, and we're going to touch on it all. But first, as always, right beside me at the top of the screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You read his gambling picks on Winners and Whiners. You read his NHL analysis, amongst other sports, on TotalApexSports.com. And you see him all over Total Apex Sports, talking football, basketball, baseball. Andre, how we feeling on a Thursday, bro?
Feeling pretty good. Playoffs obviously help a lot, but what really feels the best is knowing that the Astros suck. So God bless that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Ever since the you know what happened, I have no time for that franchise. So when my Blue Jays are just awful, it gives me hope, and not hope, but peace that the Astros are free falling right now, and it doesn't seem to have any end, which is wonderful. At the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. John, how we feeling on a Thursday, bro?
Guys, I have a rant locked and loaded for my takeaway coming up. So having to do with one of the games last night, so I'm pretty much ready.
All right, let's get right into it. I'll save the breaking news, of course, is that Sheldon Keefe, coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, was fired this morning, and a coaching search. They're telling us a coaching search is going underway immediately. Thinking that we're all stupid that they haven't been looking for a new coach for weeks now. But anyway, but we'll get into that before we do all the game previews. First, let's talk about the NHL playoffs. Coaches get fired every day. There's always drama going on, but let's talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs and what happened last night. John, you teased it. I can tell that you're foaming at the mouth. Let's just start with you, man. What's your takeaway from the NHL playoffs last night?
All right, my takeaway focuses on the game that the East Coast had to stay up late for, Vancouver and Edmonton. And the reason why I was pretty much ready to rant about this game is because it was arguably the worst goaltending I've seen in the playoffs in any matchup so far. I know we're one game in, but I think it's a big red flag for both of these teams. especially Edmonton. I mean, Skinner got exposed big time last night. I don't think it's bad enough you blow a 3-goal lead and give up 4 unanswered if you're Edmonton, but the way it happened is just absolutely brutal. And Vancouver, to their credit, started to gain momentum at the end of the second period, getting a goal. But I want to talk about the 5-minute stretch in the third period where they scored 3 goals to take the lead. Skinner, I saw every single goal he gave up. I went back and looked. I would argue every single one of those goals was leaky. The 3 in the third period, at least. All 3 of those were very preventable goals, really bad goals to give up, in my opinion. I don't think there's a single one he should have let in. So I have to think this is a major concern for Edmonton because they're facing a deep team in Vancouver that can keep up with them. And they showed in the first round what they're capable of. We all know Edmonton has the skaters. There's no doubt about it. And arguably the best dynamic duo of any team left in the playoffs with McDavid and Draisaitl. But and even Hyman too, if you want to include him as part of the elite status for Edmonton. With that said, I think the goaltending is a concern for both of these teams. For now, at least. Demko, we know, will probably come back late in the series, assuming this series goes on a while. That's what we're hearing, at least, for Vancouver. But with Edmonton, I think this is concerning. And the save percentage for both of these goaltenders last night makes me want to absolutely vomit. Both of them were under 800. I mean, there were 20. I think there were like 24 shots on goal Skinner faced, and he had 19 saves. And Vancouver wasn't much better. I mean, credit to their defense. They only allowed 18 shots on goal, but Vancouver still allowed 4 goals. And I realize they're on their third string goalie right now. So I think they get a bit more of a pass for me than Edmonton does. Vancouver's really just trying to survive until Demko comes back. Edmonton, though, I think is a bigger concern. Mark, you alluded to this in the series preview. And I think there's some stock in what you said about Skinner and the goaltending situation for Edmonton. It may not be reliable enough compared to what some of these other teams have. Vancouver was facing goalie injuries in the first round, and they still found a way to beat Nashville. So I'm not as concerned about it for them. I think my takeaway is the goaltending situation for Edmonton may have more weight than I originally suspected. I think I thought their offense could carry them, but I might have to start rethinking that considering they're facing Vancouver now. And even if they get by Vancouver, Colorado or Dallas await them in the conference finals. So that is my takeaway. The goaltending might be something to keep an eye on.
Well, it was a weird game because, and I mean, both coaches said this after the game last night. It didn't feel like when Vancouver went down 4-1, like it didn't feel like Vancouver was playing awful. Like it just felt like they couldn't get a save. Like it never felt like they were necessarily out of the game. But they just couldn't get a save. And then on the Edmonton side of things, I do think that they kind of sat back way too much, that they were a little bit too passive when they were up 4-1. I know they only got 4 shots in the third period. I'm pretty sure, and by all means, fact check me on this, but I'm pretty sure that their last shot of the second period, they only had 4 shots in the second and 4 shots in the third. And I'm pretty sure that their 4th shot in the second period was their 4th goal. And so after their goal, they only had 4 shots on net. Now that might be 6 or 7, but I'm fairly certain that after their 4th goal, they only had 4 shots on net. And, so, I mean, Connor McDavid had 0 shots. That's never going to happen again. But when you go up 4-1 in a game, especially like the Oilers, you don't expect the other team to come back no matter who they are. And as far as she loves me, yeah. He had a really rocky start, clearly, and then he settled right in. Didn't have a lot to do back there, as I just stated, but Vancouver just has this thing about them that they just never felt out of the game based on how they were playing. I didn't think they were going to come back because it's the Oilers that we're talking about. Now, Draisaitl got an elbow to the back. Nothing like malicious, just a part of the play. Tyler Myers elbow Draisaitl in the back. And from that moment on, he wasn't the same. So I'm going to be really interested to see how that kind of develops. The coach, Knobloch and Connor McDavid both kind of downplayed it, that it wasn't going to be a big deal. But I mean, we'll see. Like, you never know. But for Vancouver to come back and the onslaught that they come back, and I said this yesterday, man, Stuart Skinner had an incredible season, by far his best season of his career. But he's still Stuart Skinner, man. And there's going to be nights like this. And when you have nights like this, just like Shelovs did, you have to find a way to win. So for him to not have a good game, Shelovs, I mean, and for Vancouver to find a way to grind out a win, is just super impressive. So also, before, the other thing I will say too, just real quick, is Joshua with the goal, Cole Lindholm the assist, Lindholm a goal, Joshua Susie the assist, JT Miller, Zadorov, Garland the other goal scorers. Still nothing from EP40. Like, that is just weird to me, how you score 5 goals and EP40 is involved in 0 of them. One thing I was going to say to you, Andre, now I had a whole spiel lined up before the Toronto Maple Leafs fired their coach this morning. I was going to say, you guys all thought that I wouldn't be able to find a way to talk about the Maple Leafs this morning, but I found one. That was, once again, that was before Keefe was fired. I found one. This is going to bode really well for you, Andre. You ready? The last time the Vancouver Canucks came back from down 3 goals in the Stanley Cup playoffs was 1994 against my beloved Toronto Maple Leafs. The Vancouver Canucks won that Western Conference final back when the Leafs were in the West. They won that Western Conference final and played the New York Rangers. And the New York Rangers went on to win the Stanley Cup. So maybe this is a good thing. Maybe it's just good vibes. The last time the Canucks came back from 3 goals down in the playoffs, the Rangers won the Stanley Cup. So place your bets accordingly. That's a little tidbit I have.
It's feeling like 94 in New York right now, with the Knicks making a run too.
100%. All right, Andre, what do you got for your takeaway, bro?
Yeah, this game, or the Eastern Conference game, wasn't as wild, wacky, or late as the Edmonton Vancouver game, but potentially the most entertaining series of the second round is simply because of the animosity between the Panthers and the Bruins. The Panthers got their lick back yesterday, 6-1 win. We kind of expected they would dominate after the events of game 1, but the real kicker, Swayman got pulled. He looked human, as John said, not what we expected either. Even though we figured Panthers would pepper him with shots, but 6 got through. I want to say 4 were against him, maybe 5.
I think it was 4 for Swayman.
Yeah, and I think they pulled him more just to give him rest because he's going to be back in next game, whatever. But that third period, or the last 10 minutes of that third period, really honestly only between the 10th and 15th minute of that third period. It was fight night in TD Garden. It was
Gong
just
show.
mayhem, pure hatred. Pat Maroon, Nick Cousins, Dmitry Kulikov, uh, who else? Trent Frederick, Brazeau, Mikola, Marchand, McAvoy, Reinhardt, Kachuk, Pasternak. It just everybody got in on the action, just fighting, screaming at each other. I think after one of the goals, the Panther who scored didn't even celebrate. He was just talking trash to Marchand. Like this series is just pure, unfiltered. I don't like you. I want to punch you in the face. I want to send you flying through the boards or through the glass, even type hockey. And the games haven't been tight, but it's been phenomenal just for the tension, the entertainment of it all.
Do you think there's some resentment from last year on Boston's side coming out with these fights?
100%.
Oh yeah. Yeah, big time. And I think that, this is what you want to see in the playoffs specifically, right? A 6-1 loss in May is not the same as a 6-1 loss on a Tuesday in February, right? When you're down, and I mean, they were only down 4-1 when all this shenanigans happened, but when you're down and you can't come back, you got to see this same team in 2 days. So let your presence be felt. Let your presence be known. For David Pasternak to fight Matthew Tkachuk in the middle of the ice, that whole exchange was super old school and really fun to see. I feel like only on Canadian television, the Sportsnet Sports Center broadcast, the guy at the table was just like love to see it. Like only in Canada are you gonna get a guy on national television on Sports Center to say more fights, we love it. But that was a really, really interesting whole dynamic. I do wonder, because you saw when Swayman got taken off the ice, Coach Montgomery was like, hey, man, listen, it's not you, it's us. You'll be back next game. Don't worry about it. I would be shocked if Swayman didn't start game 3. Like, he's been so good in these playoffs. One of these games was bound to happen. Like, it was the first time all playoffs that he allowed more than 2 goals, right?
Yeah.
So, like, one of these games is just bound to happen. But I do think that, unlike other teams, when you drag Florida into the fight like that, you're not really dragging them anywhere. They're walking into that fight like they're welcoming it. You know what I mean? It's not like you're throwing them off or you're making them scared. Like Florida loves to play in the mud. So I understand where Boston's coming from. You want to leave your presence and you want to make your presence known. But at the same time, like, that's the type of game that the Panthers are comfortable with. You know what I mean? Andre, do you think that this changes? Like, we all picked Florida to win this series. I picked them to win in 5, but the game 1 from Boston kind of put us on notice a little bit, specifically the play from Swayman. Does this, do you think that the series has completely shifted now and Florida is just going to take over from here, or do you still think that this might go the distance? Like, what does this game change for you as far as this series goes?
I just feel like obviously they're the better team, and I don't think even after game 1 there was any question to me that they were going to win the series. I think it's more of Boston got punched, not really punched in the mouth, but they got shut down by the Maple Leafs several times, particularly the last 3 games offensively in that series. And now, after one good game against Florida, again, a 5-1 win in game 1, it seems like they're back to their old ways where they're not scoring. So it's more of these teams know how to slow down the Bruins, right? They only had 15 shots. Bobrovsky's a phenomenal goalie. They only had one power play, or maybe they had two, I don't remember. But these teams, Toronto and Florida now, know how to keep Boston out of the net. Do they have a counterpunch? Can they figure out a way to get their offense going again, generate some chances? Because for as good as Swayman may be, for as good as Ullmark, if he ends up starting, let's say a game 4, because Swayman has another bad game. Let's say Ullmark comes in and he's phenomenal. It's not going to matter if he only allows one goal if the Bruins get 12 shots and get shut out. So,
yeah.
I guess game 1 was a sliver of hope for the Bruins, and then game 2 was right back to where they ended the Toronto series, which is, wow, we escaped. We can't generate consistent offense. How are we going to survive, or how are we going to win 4 games out of the next 5?
Florida may have needed a game to get their their chemistry back, because they hadn't played in like a week at that point. I agree about Swayman, by the way. I don't think there's any question he'll start next game, but if he gives up like 4 or 5 again, maybe we see Ullmark in game 4. I think game 3 is going to be notable since it's the first one in Boston this series. That might be the Bruins' hope to get back in this series, home ice advantage. But yeah, you're right. I think Florida kind of looked like they were back to their old selves last night, and like getting their chemistry back and maybe copying the Leafs in terms of shutting the Bruins down.
Well, the big thing about Boston, from what I've noticed in the first series and now through this series, is that they'll score 5 goals if you mess up. Like, if you make mistakes. Like, they're not going to come out and just pounce on you, like, and, you know, score 5 goals, like, of their own will. Like, they're going to wait for you to make a mistake, and then they're going to score 5 goals. But if you play tight, and like you guys said, 15 shots on net last night, as questionable as Bobrovsky's play was, in game 1, you would think he's not going to allow 5 goals on 15 shots, right? So that game 3 goes tomorrow night, and we will break it down tomorrow as always. All right. Before we get into the games tonight, breaking news about 20 minutes before the show started, Sheldon Keefe, coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, has been fired and relieved of his duties. I will share my quick thoughts, and if you guys have anything to add, then by all means. Keith Pelly, who is the new CEO for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and Brendan Shanahan, who is the president of the Toronto Maple Leafs. They are scheduled to speak tomorrow. Sheldon Keefe was also supposed to speak tomorrow, so I don't know if he'll still speak tomorrow or if he'll speak today, or what their kind of plan is there. So after tomorrow's press conference, I'm gonna do a podcast like live, whether it's Pucks Across Borders or Sports Addict Live after dark. We'll figure that out, but I'm going to talk more about this in a Toronto Maple Leaf only live podcast, because to me, listen, we talk about this every week, a different coaches getting fired. Sheldon Keefe was coach for 5 years, which is an eternity in the NHL. we had a coach fired like late last week, right? It makes sense. It makes sense. You win 1 round in 5 years. In the bubble during COVID, you lost to the Columbus Blue Jackets, who were better then than they are now, but they still had no business beating you. The year after that, the Leafs were up 3-1 in the first round against the Montreal Canadiens, and you choked away that series. And, you know, losing to the Lightning in first round, they ended up winning the Stanley Cup, so it is what it is. Or they lost to Colorado. Either way, they went to the Cup final. Then you beat Tampa Bay. And now you lose to Boston, where Boston, I don't think the Toronto Maple Leafs were a Stanley Cup contender. I don't think that they could win the Stanley Cup, but they could have beat Boston for sure. And so it makes sense. The issue that I have, and this is from NHL.com, my boy Andre sent me this morning. So Toronto Maple Leafs general manager Brad Treliving today announced that Sheldon Keefe has been relieved of his role as head coach. The organization will immediately begin the search for a new head coach. If you think that they haven't already been looking for a new head coach, then you're fooling yourselves, or they're fooling you, more importantly. The quote from Brad Treliving: "Today's decision was difficult. Sheldon is an excellent coach and a great man. However, we determined a new voice is needed to help the team push through to reach our ultimate goal. We thank Sheldon for his hard work," and blah, 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 blah. Listen, maybe a new voice is needed. There were some questionable coaching decisions throughout the season and even in the playoffs. I thought in the last 3 games of round 1, Sheldon Keefe maybe coached his best 3-game stretch in the playoffs that he ever has. I thought he did a tremendous job in those last 3 games. What it boils down to for the Toronto Maple Leafs is I don't care who the head coach is, man. I don't care if it's Craig Berube. I don't care if it's, Scotty Bowman from the 90s. Like, the way that your team is structured is not structured to win. And I love John Tavares. I'm glad that he's on the team as far as the player that he was, and he still is a very good player. Giving him $11 million when you already had Matthews, Marner, Nylander was never going to end well. It just wasn't. Not with the salary cap. And I understand COVID happened. I understand that the cap was supposed to go up to like $100 million by now. And because of COVID, that didn't happen. And I understand all of that. But giving John Tavares $11 million really, really handicapped you from adding any championship depth, especially in the defensive position. I love Samsonov, or I like Samsonov, and I love Joe Woll. But you paid the rest of your stars so much money that you couldn't pay a legitimate Stanley Cup winning goaltender. Like, there's just so much more to this than just Coach Keefe. And so where I do understand him being fired, and it makes complete sense to me, 5 kicks at the can, you won 1 playoff round with the roster that you have. All that being said, this is way beyond the coach. Like, this is way beyond needing a new voice. Like, and the truth of the matter is, you overpaid Mitch Marner when his rookie contract was up. You paid him $10.5 million. He has a full no trade clause and no move clause. John Tavares has 1 year left on his deal at $11 million. Leaf fans, unless Mitch decides to leave, and unless a team that he chooses gives you substantial pieces back, I don't think any substantial changes will be made to this roster until next summer. Because when Mitch Marner's money is off the books, when John Tavares' money is off the books, that's when you can really, really do some damage. So to me, it made sense, but I don't think this automatically. I don't think the only thing this team needs is a new coach. Like, there's lots of reasons why this team has underachieved, and I'm really, really curious to see what happens this summer. But the bottom line is, if Mitch Marner doesn't want to leave, he's not going to leave. And with John Tavares, if he doesn't want to leave, he's not going to leave. You see all these Twitter soldiers, trade Mitch Marner. Dude, it's like, that's not how this works. So as much as I do understand the coaching change, it's just really unfortunate that poor cap management cost this guy his job, really, at the end of the day. Could he have done things differently as a coach? Sure. But this issue runs way deeper than a new voice. And so a little bit disappointed to read that from Brad Treliving. What else is he going to say? Like, he's not the one who signed all these guys, you know what I mean? But so those are my thoughts. And we'll see what the press conference has in store for us tomorrow, and we'll see what moves the Leafs make in this summer. All right, moving on to the two games on the ice tonight. Andre's New York Rangers are in Carolina. As always, Andre, your boys are massive underdogs, plus 142. The President's Trophy winning, up 2-0 in the series. The division winners, doesn't matter. They're plus 142 on the road. Carolina, minus 170. The over is 5.5 at minus 110. The under is also minus 110. Plus 1.5 for the Rangers is minus 192. Minus 1.5 for the Hurricanes is plus 160. Andre, what do you see in this game tonight?
I'm going to start with the Canes here. They played well first two games. Just bad bounces, poor power play kind of cost them. Sebastian Aho has been a man possessed. Jake Gensel still kills the Rangers. I never want to see his face again. They're fine. They're a great team. They're back home. You think win one game, big picture, you're fine, right? This is not being down 0-2 is where you were last year in the conference finals, and you can't let what happened last year happen again, which is you lose another tight one, and suddenly it's 3-0, and backs against the wall 4 straight times against a really good team. That's what happened against the Panthers. They fell short. You can't let that happen again. So in no world should you expect the Canes to fall down 3-0. That money line straight up, not worth it. Puck line, you have to think with the way both teams have been clawing, scratching, fighting down to the final buzzer. Both games so far, not worth it. You can't really see a multi-goal win in this series, it seems like. So 60-minute line is probably the best risk if you want the Canes to win. But I'm a Rangers fan, so of course I'm going to take that Rangers money line. Are you kidding me? Now to talk about the good guys.
You almost had
the Rangers.
Oh,
Huh?
God.
I said you almost had me there, bro. I thought you were going Canes.
No. It's the playoffs. You can't do that. Even if you think it's going to be 2-1 by the end of the night, you can't do that. If you're the Rangers, right? You've kept the high danger scoring chances even. You've won on special teams. You've won on goaltending. That's basically what you want to do. It's basically what you need to do. That's how you feel like you can beat every team in the league. And they did that the first two games, even if Carolina was the one peppering them with shots and had the momentum at various points. This is a team that doesn't die. So even if you're trailing, not the end of the world. If you're the Rangers, you survived the annual Jacob Trouba nightmare playoff game where he lived in the penalty box and basically was better off just not showing up to the arena. So you did that. You're up 2-0. You're back in a building where you won 1-0 in the regular season. You're back in a building where Game 7 of the playoffs 2 years ago, you won 6-2. It was the only time the road team won in that series, and it kind of clinched it. I believe the Rangers have 4 straight wins in PNC Arena. There tends to be a very blue presence there when the Rangers go. So you got to feel like you can go up 3-0. You can't feel intimidated going into PNC because it's not somewhere that's really been a house of horrors if you're New York. Now, one thing at the end of game 2 you noticed was the Canes shifted to 3 lines, 9 forwards for end of the third period, both overtimes. The Rangers only iced out 1 forward. It was Matt Rempe. And we've talked about this. I know me and Mark in particular off camera, where I feel like at home, Rempe's a must play because he's instant energy to the arena if you need it. That's not a thing anymore. So if you're the Rangers, Johnny Brodinski's an option on that fourth line, someone you can actually play, and you'll have a little bit of depth advantage in the later stretches when it's tight. Or even better, Filipino, who has been skating with the team for weeks, has not played since November, fittingly enough, against the Canes. He got bust, or I think it was a leg injury before the concussion symptoms, but he hasn't played since November. Very good player, chemistry with Capo Caco, as is. You probably slot him into the third line, move Will Cooley back into the fourth line. And he adds scoring and passing and playmaking. He's a very good player. In that Canes series 2 years ago, 2 goals in Game 6 in the 5-2 win, the dagger goal in Game 7 in Carolina in that 6-2 win. He's not scared of the moment. He's not scared of the building. He's not scared of Freddie Anderson. So Filipino could return in this game. That would very much deepen the Rangers lineup. I feel like Brett Pesce is supposed to be returning for the Canes, which is going to make their defense a lot better, but that could be a little bit of punch counter punch when you're talking about the lineups. So 2-0 is far from over. Every Rangers fan should know that. They've blown a couple 2-0 leads recently to Devils and Lightning. They came back from 2-0 against the Canes. They came back from 3-1 against the Penguins. It's all recently. So there's a lot of life left in this series, but they've haven't played their best hockey. They're up 2-0. They're winning the areas they need to. If they start winning more puck battles, if they even things up 5-on-5, the Rangers, there's no way, or there's no reason they shouldn't be able to win this game in this series. So I'm taking that Rangers plus 140. And despite the fact that the first 2 games are 4-3, I'm taking the under because I don't think that's going to keep up.
Yeah, as far as the total, I'm just going to stay away. Totals are friggin' killing me left, right, and center in these playoffs. But what I will say, so these odds, for the most part, are all based on analytics. And if you deep dive into Carolina's analytics, they are analytical darlings, if you will. The analytics love this Carolina team. I do also understand, just like realistically, Carolina going down 3-0 seems pretty inconceivable. That being said, the fact that they are now minus 166, but they opened up as minus 170 favorites. This is my thing, okay? And this isn't crazy deep dive into the stats or anything like that. Andre gave a terrific breakdown of the Rangers squad. For me, in my eyes, it's just this. I've been saying this ever since our playoff preview. The Rangers are out for blood. Like that series against the Devils last year, I think really, really stung. And I think that it really left a lasting mark on this Rangers team. It's not strange to be up 2-0 in a series at home. Then you go on the road, you lay an egg, then the other team wins 1. I just don't see the Rangers laying any eggs in this playoffs. I really don't. I really think that this team is focused. They're determined. And more important, I don't know if it's more important, but a huge factor is Shesterkin is Shesterkin right now, man. Like, I'm really worried about the goaltending situation for Carolina. Not that I don't like Freddie Anderson, because I do. Not that I don't think he could have a bounce back game, because I do. And not even, he hasn't been, like, I don't think he's been awful in these playoffs, because he hasn't. But Shesterkin's just playing so good right now that if you keep taking penalties and keep giving the Rangers opportunities to score, they're going to take it, and you're not going to be able to get those chances back. Game 2, up 3-2 in the third period, to me, that was Carolina's opportunity to get back in this series. And for whatever reason, I I know John loves Carolina. I've been more cold on them than I should be. They're a very, very good hockey team. And I know that it's only game 3, but there's something about letting that 3-2 lead in the third period the other night slip away that I think was a really, really pivotal moment in this series. Could Carolina win tonight? Absolutely. Is it realistic that they probably win tonight? Sure. But if you're going to give me plus 140 on the President's Trophy, division winning, up 2-0 in the series, which, by the way, Capitals or no Capitals, the Rangers haven't lost in the playoffs yet. Let's just remember that. And they're still plus 140 dogs. As a gambler, I'll take that gamble. Sure. Why not? Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense. And I'm taking the Rangers to win tonight 100%. I like Panarin to score. I also really like Jarvis on the Carolina side. This guy, he's quickly becoming my favorite player on the Hurricanes. I love watching this guy play. And it's giving me flashbacks to November where I picked him up on my fantasy waiver wire and then dropped him. And then he went on to have like a crazy good season. But anyway, Artemi Panarin plus 140 to score a goal tonight. Seth Jarvis plus 200. I like both those guys to score. And I'll take the Rangers plus 140. John, what do you got?
This is a really difficult game from a betting perspective for me. Mainly because, like, I think for once I'm not locking and loading with Carolina, maybe to the dismay of Andre over there, because I've been a good luck charm for him picking against the Rangers so far. But I'm not necessarily picking the Rangers either. And Mark, I know, was getting into the Anderson stuff. And while I agreed that he is not the only issue, I still think he is a major issue for Carolina. And I don't even think it's because he's playing the worst of the goaltenders left in the playoffs. I think it's just because of who his opponent is. Igor is just outclassing him. It's real simple. And I don't have any reason to believe that's going away anytime soon because we just talked about it yesterday. Igor's had 29 straight playoff games in his career where he's allowed 3 or less goals. I have no reason to believe that's letting up anytime soon. Anderson has just not shown me he can keep up. It's really that simple. Like, I'm very down on Anderson, and I'm like, I think if they don't make a move, they're losing the series. I think that a move needs to happen. Like, so here's my play. I can't find an exact number on this. Whatever the save prop for Anderson is, bet the under. Because I think one of two things are happening. He has another bad game or he gets pulled early. I think, or he doesn't even play at all and the bet gets canceled. I have no reason to believe he's not starting the game at the very least, but I think if he gets off to a rough start, he will get pulled. That's my take. I think they have to make you said this yesterday, Mark. I think if Carolina it makes a move at all, it's going to be tonight. And I think if Anderson has a bad first period, my prediction is they pull him for the rookie. So if they give up like a goal early or something like that, maybe even 2 goals, I could see him getting pulled tonight because Carolina is reaching a point where they're desperate. And we said this yesterday, 5-on-5, they were the better team in game 2. Now they need to get their penalty kill together and not allow as many power play opportunities for the Rangers, for sure. That is an issue. But I truly believe if it's Igor versus Anderson straight up, Igor is going to win. They need to shake things up. I think it's getting to that point where I can't even pick Carolina anymore the way Anderson's playing.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, right? Because on the one hand, you got a rookie who you're going to put in. He had a very good season, so there's nothing like on him negatively. I mean, we've seen this from Freddie before when it comes to the playoffs, right? And we'll see what happens. I'm very interested to see. All right, moving on. Colorado, Dallas, the nightcap tonight, 9:40 start. Thank you, Lord, that this is not another 10:20 start. I'm dying over here already. It's only the second round. Colorado opened up as plus 105 dogs. They are now plus 102. The Dallas Stars are minus 122. Over 6.5 is minus 102. Under is minus 118. Plus 1.5 for the Avalanche is minus 245. Minus 1.5 for the Stars is plus 200. John, let's start with you, man. What do you see in this series, in this game tonight?
So I got a bit of a bold prediction after game one. This may be a very strong reactionary take, but I think Colorado's going to sweep Dallas.
Whoa!
So I'm picking them. I'm picking them tonight, and I'm picking the over. I've seen nothing that shows me Dallas can keep up with them. Like, Colorado played about as bad as he could in the first period of that game. They gave Dallas a period to like wrap up the game, and like Dallas had all the momentum in the world going into that game. Colorado was very rusty, clearly, and their goaltending's not even that great. And Colorado still won that game. I can't get over Dallas blowing a 3-0 lead. I think that's a bigger deal than we're making it. Because I think if there was any game in the series I thought Dallas could steal, it was game one. I think that game showed me they're a little outclassed here. I think Colorado's just the better version of it, of the scoring attack compared to Dallas. I don't know. That game one loss just majorly concerns me. Ottinger, I will say the only thing that I think might prevent a sweep or run away from this is if Ottinger gets back to what he was near the end of the Vegas series. Because I think we can all agree he's the better goaltender of the two in this matchup. But I think Ottinger has to carry them. That's about Dallas's only hope, in my opinion. But I think the over I'm very confident in as well, because like I said, Colorado basically had one period where they didn't exist offensively. So I feel like this can go over again. But I like Colorado to win here. I unless something drastic happens tonight, I don't really see another time I'm going to pick against them. I really think Dallas missed their shot to take an early lead and gain some confidence. I feel like that loss has to be demoralizing to that locker room. Makes me question if they can keep up with them, especially now that Colorado is getting their act together and had a period to get their chemistry back after being off for a week. And even in their peak in the second period, I still thought they skated around Dallas pretty easily. And they had limited shots on goal too, and they still won that game. It makes me think if Colorado can win that game while being basically non-existent offensively for half of it, I don't see how they're losing. So give me the Avalanche and the over.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to call you crazy. When it comes to Colorado, anything can happen. I think Dallas is a way too good of a defensive team and way too deep offensively. I do think, listen, what was it? I want to look this up again real quick. In game one, sorry, just bear with me here for a sec. In game one, in game one, Dallas had 22 shots on net, and they need to pump this guy full of shots, man. Like
Yeah.
You need to keep Georgiev busy. You have to, from Dallas's perspective, and specifically, I mean, we know what Wyatt Johnston's going to do. Okay, that line's been phenomenal all year long. I'm looking at guys like, where's Jason Robertson? Like, where's Hintz? Like Pavelski, I believe Pavelski scored or got an assist in the last game. And I also know the fact that Joe Pavelski is even playing still is a miracle. Like, he's been phenomenal, and people thought he should have retired years ago. But even guys like Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, Matt Duchene, I've been talking about how deep this team is, but their depth is getting pretty old. And so, like, I'm looking at, like, Matt Duchene had a phenomenal season. Where's he been? Like, I'm really looking at the Dallas depth to leave a mark tonight. We all know Wyatt Johnston's going to score. He's still plus 170, which is outrageous. He should be plus 130, plus 140. You're getting him at plus 170. He scores every single night. He scored in game one. I don't know. I think Dallas is a really good hockey team. I picked them to win this series. Now, am I 100% confident in my pick for them to win the series? No, I'm not. But I don't think they go to Ball Arena down 2-0. Because if you go to Ball Arena down 2-0, this series, for all extents and purposes, is probably over. So you got to win tonight. And I don't think they're going to lose. I think that Ottinger bounces back, has a terrific game. I'll take Dallas 120, 122 on the money line. I really like Dallas to win tonight, but I can't say this enough. They have to shoot the puck tons. It doesn't matter if it's a great look. It doesn't matter if it's like, point blank range or whatever. Just shoot the puck, because the only way you're going to beat Colorado is by scoring 4 or more goals. So shoot your faces off tonight. I like Dallas to win tonight, and give me a Wyatt Johnson goal because, of course. Andre, what do you got?
I don't know if I'm as bold as to call the sweep, even though I think the Avs are going to win this series. But I will say that it is now 5 games this season between regular and post where the Avalanche have scored at least 4 goals against the Stars team, and they are plus 140 at over 3.5 goals for this game. I think that's insane. So I love that just right off the bat. But you're right. The Stars, really good defense. They also have a great offense, not as great as Colorado's, but they were 3rd in scoring. They were a 10th of a goal behind them. It's not like they're slouches. I don't see them stopping Colorado offensively, but I could see them outscoring them. They do have the goaltending edge. I love Georgie, but he's not Otter. So, they give up 4, they score 5 or 6, and that's a dub. And that gets you 1-1 into Ball Arena where you fall down 3-1. I'm not going to pick a side for this one, but I'm going to take that over 6.5 because it's minus 102, and I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
It was plus 100 earlier, so.
Yeah.
They seem to be confident Ottinger will have a good game.
I just think he's better than Georgie more than anything. And I know the Stars' offense is lethal, so.
Yeah. I mean, if the sweep happens, John, I'll be very impressed, but I just don't.
I love that.
I just think game 1 was a huge loss for Dallas. I'm not sure how they're coming back from that.
There's no doubt that if they lose this series, that's going to be the game that they look at. Same thing for the Oilers last night, right? Like if you lose this, if the Oilers lose this series, you're looking at last night. Awesome stuff. All right, let's move on. Wrap up the show with our best bets brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now, using our promo code SportsAddict, get 10% off every sports card in the store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off tons of cards. And with our promo code SportsAddict, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. That's the number 1, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. John, what is your best bet tonight?
All right, since I laid this out on the line, I feel like I have to go with this now. Colorado money line. I feel like they're going to win tonight. And I really, like I said, I made a bold prediction that they're going to sweep. I just think that game 1 loss is too demoralizing. And the fact that Colorado still put up 4 goals while having a really rough first period and being so limited in shots for like a 10-minute stretch, I think it says a lot about how lethal that offense is. And I know Dallas is good offensively. I don't disagree there. But I just think Colorado's on another planet right now. So give me the Avs.
I will say, I don't know what the heck just happened between when we literally just covered this series and now, but Colorado's now plus 110 to win tonight. I don't know. I don't know what went down in the last like 5 minutes, but
Big Dallas money, I guess.
Oh yeah, big Dallas money. But that was like 5 minutes ago, man. We literally just covered this series, this game, and tons of Dallas money coming in. So Colorado's plus 110. Andre, what about you, man? What's your best bet?
Yeah, with all due respect to the under on Igor's saves, that's never happening again. So we're gonna flip completely to the West Coast, and I guess it's Central. Whatever. We're gonna go to Dallas. We're gonna take the over 6.5. It's minus 102, which is basically even money. The Stars, like I said, they've scored at least 4 goals every time they've played. Not the Stars, the Avs, every time they've played the Stars, have scored at least 4 goals. Dallas was third in scoring. Avs were first this season. 4 of the 5 matchups went over the total, over 6.5, and the only one that didn't ended with 6 goals. That's because the Stars only scored once. It was a 5-1 Avs win. So over 6.5 seems like a lock to me, and it's basically doubling your money when you place the bet. So that's it for me.
Love it. Well, listen, I didn't expect this. It's a full-on same game parlay. That I do really like the Rangers to win tonight. I really do. At plus 140. I'm gonna leave that alone as my best bet, though. I'm taking Wyatt Johnston, man. The guy's scoring every single game. Scored again in game 1. Scored in game 7. Scoring all the time. I'm gonna take him at plus. What did I say? Plus 170 for Wyatt Johnston to get a goal tonight.
Yeah. I will say that Rangers Canes game is a lot less predictable unless you're looking at like Mika Zibanejad or Sebastian Aho to get an assist. Those seem like the only locks right now. Or Vinny Trocheck's actually been balling out too. But we're just gonna same game parlay out west, and we just got better odds. The Colorado Avalanche money line is now plus 114.
Woo!
6.5 minus 102.
Big Dallas money.
And something shady's happening. There's something weird. Someone is leaking something. A coach, like ref, is putting money down, or something's happening.
Somebody's got to find Jonte Porter before this game starts. But why Johnson's plus 170 to score a goal?
Catching bullets.
Same game parlay. Plus 950.
There we go.
Absolutely love it. Wow, John. How do you feel? Your odds keep going up and up. I mean, financially it's nice, but oof.
More valuable for the Avs. More valuable Avs bet.
Absolutely love it. Well, everybody, listen. Whether you're watching live or whether you are watching throughout the day, we appreciate you. Total Apex Sports, thank you for having us on board. We appreciate you guys. Head over to totalapexsports.com for lots and lots of great NHL analysis amongst other sports as well. First round collectibles, promo code SportsAddict for 10% off every card in the store. Enjoy the night. Enjoy the games. Bet responsibly, of course. And we will see you tomorrow morning. Have a great day.
Go hard.